and welcome to BlockStack TV. I am Tom Stiles.
I am Steve Jagger. BlockStack is no longer the hottest internet ultimate TV show to rock your digital world, but it is sort of. It is now Ultimate's own game advisors, offering unwelcome, unsolicited, and unbinding perspectives from the comfort of our own couch. Actually, it's Tom's
My couch, yeah. Thank you very much, Dave.
Welcome to the media show.
The show all about media. Well, we should talk about what's gone down in media using our very own BlockStack TV website, which is the ultimate resource for ultimate media right now on the webs. Steve, what have you picked out this month?
What I've done is I've gone through and I've looked for media-related articles.
Oh, very cool.
Go figure. And I've got two pretty sweet ones. One, it was published by Get Horizontal. Nice work, guys. It's an interview with Fulcrum Media's Luke Johnson. He's gone from, he's kind of taken ultimate media coverage. I'm not going to ruin the article, but I would suggest the way to read it yourself is to go to blockstack.tv, go to editor's picks, and it's the latest one there. So it's about a transition from actually playing the sport to covering it. Something that we near and dear to our own hearts.
Yes. Yeah, we no longer play, or I no longer play.
I do.
Yeah.
So, but it's quite good. And the other one, which we're going to talk about later, which came up recently, is WFDF. And this is kind of a good reason that we delayed releasing this this show. Is some stuff has happened in the meantime since filming a few weeks ago the first part of it and doing this final part. And one of them is the request for proposal for the coverage, media live streaming of next year's World events. And it's actually something we talked to our interview subjects about, so it's quite cool. So the other awesome thing,
I was just wanting to draw attention in case people hadn't picked up that the fact that blockstack.tv is the new website. Steve has done an amazing job. It's an amalgamation of all the different ultimate sources of news, and you can just scroll on there. There's a TV section which got a load of videos in it. There's a blog section, got loads of thought-provoking articles from people who write about the sport. There's more of the news stuff from your usual, ultimate sources. It's all there in one page, and it's awesome. And then Steve goes through and he picks out his favourite stories on the editor's picks page. So if you are really stuck for time, blockstack.tv, go and look at the editor's picks, and you can see what's in the mind of the Steve.
Yeah, what I like, and what I also like to do is I like to click on blogs, because blogs has the lesser known sources on it. So it kind of it strips out your Ulti-Worlds and your Skies and some of the news sources that tend to flood the main page. So if you want another little shortcut tip for you there.
Yeah, do click the adverts as well.
Yeah,
good stuff.
So what else has happened? What else is exciting UK specific is, I don't know if I'm reaching off screen, but I hope so.
Ultimatum. It's this year's ultimatum.
Yeah, 2004.
Teen.
Oh, okay. 10 years early. 10 years. Oh, therefore, it's newer.
Yeah. Well, what's gone on here, Steve?
I don't know. Actually, I thought it is 2015.
I thought it was a printing mistake at first when you showed it to me, but actually, it's not a printing mistake. It is actually last year's magazine.
It just came out about a few weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
The first page is a large apology.
Yeah.
But it's got a few mistakes in it, and it's still a good read in that, but it's still in, what's this stuff called?
It's dead trees, Steve. It's made of dead trees. Some forests are cut down, made into paper, and then printed. I brought a prop. Go on.
It reminds me of this.
It's the new Depeche Mode album.
It's the new. Is
it brand new?
No, it's not. It's probably from 1985, actually.
There we go.
But it's like, this is sort of like the vinyl of, right after plugging our amazing new website full of articles and news and a consolidated and curated wonderful list of sources of ultimate media, we transitioned directly into something that is potentially controversially paper.
But you're a big vinyl fan.
I know, and as much as I'm making an association with what most people consider to be an out-of-date format, I loved opening it. Just like I still collect vinyl, I loved getting it in the post, tearing the plastic off, sitting on the toilet, of course, and going through and reading all the articles and seeing all the mistakes and picking it apart and reading all the opinions. I still like getting it, which I guess...
See?
You?
Well, now I have a collection of ultimatums. They're actually in my bedside drawer.
I've got 2001.
Yeah, I got everyone that came because I used to be a big contributor. In fact, I've got a collection of frisbees and hacky sacks that used to get given out, mugs, each year. And Jack used to pay £5 per photo that made it into.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So I one year I collected a check for nearly £70.
Nice.
From all the.
You were the Andy Moss at the time.
I was the Andy Moss of the day.
Yeah, he's got almost every photo in here.
Having said that, I think that the fact that UK Ultimate are spending a lot of time and money and effort and burning some volunteer time putting together a paper-based magazine, this is not where our effort in communicating about the sport should go, my opinion, anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it had its day, and you're right, there is something quite nostalgic about it, but it's a very expensive piece of nostalgia.
It is.
And you could print off the show game for the last year, you'd have a lot more photographs, and you'd have it now rather than last year's information.
They'd be current.
So, you know, Steve Jobs was a great believer in getting rid of the past and looking forward.
Yeah.
And I think Ultimate in the UK needs to do the same. Get rid of this and put the substantial contribution, which the player membership fees goes into this, into something more up to date. That could be, you know, a pot of money that goes towards subsidising somebody covering all our big tournaments.
We're not going to solve it, Tom.
Well, these are ideas. This is a big chunk of our budget.
It's money. I know, it is money. And it could be online.
Yeah, okay.
And sustained over time. So I think it should be like, my opinion is it should be like vinyl. I don't mind getting it, but I'd like it to be online. Like if you buy a vinyl album now, you can download the MP3s.
Yeah, but vinyl is a connoisseur's product for a very small percentage of the market.
I'm a connoisseur.
Yeah, no,
or you pay extra for the paper copy when you join your fees.
Yeah, but no one would pay it, and then they'd stop doing it. If that's what you did,
at least they'd
no one would pay it.
At least they'd know whether people actually want it.
You know,
that's a good. We should do a poll. See if people actually care.
You know what the poll would say before you conducted it.
Nobody'd care.
Nobody'd care.
All right, in the bin.
So we and before anyone gets really upset, we really appreciate all the time and effort that went into producing that magazine. As we've both written for it, we've both contributed to it in the past. We just don't think it's where.
No, you don't.
I don't think it's where we should be spending the community's money anymore.
True.
There's other things that would have a better return on the growth of the sport than a paper-based glossy magazine. In the last 10 years, Ultimate Media has changed a hell of a lot. When me and Steve started covering Ultimate Media stuff back in 2004.
Yeah.
It was writing an update to go on BritDisc that got circulated around. There wasn't really very much online.
No, there was Rec Sport Disc. I said Rec Sport Disc to a guy recently and he didn't know what I was talking about. American guy.
Well, I barely looked at that. Most of my Ultimate came from...
No, it's Reddit.
No, Reddit. Most of my Ultimate at the time came from BritDisc.
Yeah.
We did Look Fly News, and then I had a go at recording Ultimate coverage straight to tape. Back in the day, we had 3 cameras at Tour 2 in 2003 with myself doing the commentary, and we recorded it straight to tape, sold it back to the players with a bit of editing. That was a nightmare. Don't ever do that.
You thought the ultimatum was out of date.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we did get it out in the same year. But it was a stretch. It was like November, and it was all filmed in like July, and it was hard work.
Damn right.
Yeah, don't do that. But now we're living in an age of
spoiled for choice.
Completely, and we used to get the DVD now in the post. Now you can watch it on YouTube when you get home from your tournament. You can see the game you played in. You can have a choice of coverage.
If people have to wait 24 hours to see a live stream game from an event, they complain. Yeah, I know, it's great.
Well, is that how it should be? Is that what Ultimate is all about? Anyway, so the world has changed, and the world's changed for online coverage as well as video, as well as print media. And we are going to talk a little bit about the different sources of media that we can see and the different tournaments coverage style that we've seen recently.
Yeah, we're going to do a rundown. The top .10. Not the top 10.
No one does top 10 anymore.
No one does top 10 anymore.
BuzzFeed have seen to that.
Yeah, they've screwed that up. And and emo.
How many should we do?
We're going to do 6.
Whoa.
Because no one does 10s, no one does 5s. You got to be 23, 17. Something that shows you seriously thought about these numbers.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. In at number 6, Steve, it's...
In at number 6 is Get Horizontal, the one we just actually quoted that has that great interview. Maybe I should bump it above 6, seeing as I found that awesome interview just afterwards. These are not binding. Sometimes we have preferences. Get Horizontal is a European source. It's kind of a blog.
Yeah.
Based in Belgium.
Yeah,
Balmy
based
runs
in
it.
Europe.
Yeah, very clever guys. I don't quite know when I think about Get Horizontal. They do some great articles. They have an affiliation with Ultimate Interviews, which is Mark Early's cool interview podcasty thing.
Yeah.
And they don't produce a whole lot of stuff.
No.
But it's generally pretty good.
Yeah.
They do have kind of a weird corporate connection, it feels, with 5, but I don't really know what that is going on there.
Does it taint the coverage?
It feels like
the coverage
things
slightly?
get 5y sometimes on there, but I don't like that.
Well, I'm not connected with any ultimate clothing manufacturer, so that's fine with me.
Hey.
One of the things that Get Horizontal did, which blew my mind, was back in European Beach, where they did daily 6-7 minute wrap-ups at the end of each day, where they had one correspondent for each division who did like a 2-minute talk over summary put together with highlights from that division of the big games. I thought that was amazing.
That kicked ass. Yeah.
It did. But it took the one video guy, 3 correspondents and an editor to do a whole day's work to produce that one 6-minute slot. So tons of work to get that out. But they did it. They proved it could be done.
That's the closest thing I've seen to what we used to do.
Oh, blew that ass off what we used to do.
Yeah, but they had all these people. If we had a crew, we could have done that. We could have done it that well.
Maybe people don't like us that much.
We didn't have a crew. Yeah, we couldn't get a crew. We tried. Sometimes we had one. So number 6, Get Horizontal.
In at number 5, it's The Show Game.
Yes, the BBC of Ultimate.
But they very much are, aren't they? British. There's no advertising on there. Nobody gets paid on there.
Nobody's watching it or reading it.
No, that isn't true of the BBC or The Show Game. No. They are watching it and they are reading it. You're such a git. But they don't chase. They don't chase the viewership.
They put even less material out, but because of that, what they put out is gold.
It's really good quality stuff. But, it's not BuzzFeed. It's the exact opposite of the BuzzFeed. It's probably not that SEO friendly. But once you know it's there, do check out their stuff, because they've got really great, thoughtful writers who are writing for the right reasons about the sport. And Dave and Josh pushing the sport forward. And they've got, you talk to them about why they do the site, and it's absolutely spot on. You can't fault them. I wonder about that business model.
But it's the same model as ours almost. No money.
Well, we tried to make money, completely failed at it.
Yeah, I know. That's true. More about that later.
Yeah.
So,
coming at 4.
Number 4, I've got ESPN controversially in at number 4. Ooh. Because they're a major player in the States that is bringing the message to the non-ultimate crowd. I know we all love to watch we all get super excited when it's on SportsCenter, right? Yeah, we made SportsCenter top 10. There's Ultimate on it.
And it's happened a lot recently.
It happens a lot.
And that's good, because that means ESPN are not only providing coverage, but they're taking it seriously within the rest of their programming. And they're going, look, this is action.
And you get to watch Major League Baseball, and then you see an Ultimate clip. Yeah. So people who've never heard of the sport are being exposed to it because of that. And
not on a patronising, last minute part of the news segment. It is on an equal.
It's not a water-skiing squirrel.
No, it's not. We're sick of the water-skiing squirrel. It's a bugger. Right, in at number 3, it's Ultiworld, which is possibly the worst logo for any website ever.
It looks like a 1945...
Maybe that was the look they were going for. Retro.
Maybe, yeah.
Retro. Ultiword it's a big site. They've got a lot of coverage on there. They've got a lot of writers on there. The world part I find a little bit annoying, because I don't live in America and most of the coverage is American.
It's kind of like the World Series of baseball.
Yeah. It's that view of the world.
It's only America. Really.
Yeah. So if it was like Ulti USA, that would probably be a more accurate capture. Although they did have an article about European Championships. It was a week late, and it was written by a volunteer. It was written by Brummy.
But yeah, a British person.
Yeah. So
they did have good coverage from Preston for.
Oh, Preston! Yeah, Preston's coverage of
gotta
under
give props for
23s.
that.
Yeah,
That was
they did fly across for that, but
But it was very American.
It was
focused.
American focused.
Like America played GB in the opening game, and it was just, let's talk to the USA captain. The USA did okay. How about the USA? It was like GB wasn't even in the game, so it was very America focused.
But so much of the sport is in the USA,
Yes.
particularly the pro leagues, and they've got special sections on the AUDL and the MLU.
Yeah, that's true.
AUDL before MLU. I'm not sure if they're showing a bias there or not, but their coverage is good, and they've also got loads of stuff on their site for live streaming. So they're selling a subscribe to the UltiWord Premium account, which I didn't work out how expensive it was. Subscribe today.
Well, they're doing the live streaming for USA Nationals coming up very soon.
So the Triple Crown Tour Team Pack is $350. That's a lot of money. Does that get you? That's around £10 per person. Oh, so that's for your whole team.
Oh, I see.
Oh, $10 per person. That's actually not a bad deal, is it? That's an interesting way of selling it as well. Well done, UltiWorld. I like that. An individual prescription is 65 quid. This stuff matters. Business models matter.
Business models do matter, yeah, and they're actually trying to survive and make money. Now, the guy who runs this, Charlie, do you find his name there?
I'll find his name. You tell us about the next one.
He's it's not his full-time job. Again, and it's another one of these ultimate media things where he's not living off of it.
No.
It's again blood, sweat, and tears of ultimate. So,
in at number 2.
Is Skyd. Woo! You like Skyd?
Well, I worked with them at under 23, so I'm a little bit biased.
Okay.
And
Skyd are quite cool. If you look at Skyd and you look at the range of writers that they've got, they get a lot of big names. They get the Bo Kittredges, they get the Lou Bruces, they get guys who you read and trust on there. And plus Elliot Trotter, who I believe he's the main founder of it.
Yeah.
He does a lot of other things. He's involved in Rise Up. He's got that bizarre series on YouTube, Ultimate Globetrotter.
All right.
Obviously playing his own name.
Right. Okay.
Where he's got him and a mate are traveling around, and they film him doing. He played with Ragnarok, and he went to Australia, and he played with. I can't remember what they're called.
He's a top player as well.
And he's
Canadian.
Really,
Vancouver-based, isn't he?
No, he's American. Isn't he American? Anyway,
I thought he was Furious-based. I thought he was playing with Furious.
He's a Seattle guy. He plays Sockeye.
Sockeye.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elliot. I wasn't paying attention, was I?
Finally, somebody called an American and a Canadian.
Haven't bantered
So yeah,
Elliot,
I saw that thing. He's super involved. He's a nice guy, and I saw that. I just want to comment about that Globetrotter thing. And I thought, what are you just traveling around the world, filming your crazy, and the professional jealousy kicked in.
Yeah.
And then I watched one of those shows, and I wanted it to kind of be like.
You wanted to.
I wanted it to be a bit rubbish, and it was fucking amazing.
It was brilliant.
It was really well filmed. Whoever's doing his editing is a genius.
Yeah, and Skyd hooked up with Ulti.tv from Australia, who in at number 7. Actually, we only did the top 6, but Ulti.tv in at number 7. And Mike Palmer from Ulti.tv was over in under 23s helping out Skyd and bringing a completely unbelievable level of skill and technical know-how to Skyd's coverage there.
Yeah, I think apparently we're going to get him involved in UK streaming next year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, he had loads
conversations
of ideas.
are going.
And he was interested in built this. I don't know if any of you saw my little coverage of how Skyd had made their coverage with one cameraman and one person in a tent. But go and find that on our YouTube channel and also on Skyd's YouTube channel. There's a behind the under 23 scenes, really clever stuff. In at number 1,
and what us? Obviously, we started it all. We've been doing media since 2004. We've been here the longest, and we have the least.
Nobody does it better.
We have probably the lowest viewership. Realistically, though, the one that's notably missing.
Did we really put ourselves at number 1?
Yeah. Well, I think because there's one that should be there, and it's not even around anymore, and that is NexGen. Remember NexGen?
I do remember
They had the NexGen tour. They had these teams. They did some of the best. Did they do Japan?
They did some of the best of the world. Yeah, the world
live stream coverage.
Yeah,
tight commentary, great transitions, great slow. It was just like it was a package that answered that calling.
It was, and we wanted to find out more, which is why I spent a bit of time on the telephone, on the video chat with Josh Wardle and Kevin Minderhout from the NexGen project to find out what it was all about, what was the big things that they were trying to do, did they achieve them, and where they see the vision for Ultimate Media in the future.
Okay, so I'm very pleased to welcome to the show Mr. Josh Wardle. Hello, Josh, how are you?
Hey Tom, I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
Yeah, very good indeed. Now, you've been involved with NexGen and you're also an Ultimate Player UK and stateside. Just give us your resume in 30 seconds and how you fit into the Ultimate Media scene.
Yeah, so I played in the UK from like 2005 to 2008. I played with Clapham. Then I came to the US, the west coast of the US, to do a master's. And while here, I played for University of Oregon team that was very talented, very famous media-wise, had the shirts-only point that was pretty infamous. And since graduating from Oregon, I moved down to the Bay Area, where I'm currently living in San Francisco. I got involved in Ultimate Media stuff. So Kevin Minderhout, who runs NexGen, he was a Frisbee player at the U of O on Ego together. And he and I started NGN, the broadcast network for Frisbee. We ran a Kickstarter campaign, raised a bunch of money, and broadcasted some tournaments.
So I'd like to welcome Kevin Minderhout, founder of NexGen, to BlockStack TV to talk to us about his experiences of running an ultimate company in the media space. Now, Kevin, just give us the potted history of you as an ultimate player and as a contributor to the...
As an ultimate player, so I started playing in high school when I learned the game in PE class as a sophomore. And then when I went to college, I selected the colleges I was going to apply to based on the top UPA top 25 rankings. I could not apply to any college outside of that. I was lucky enough to end up at the University of Oregon, one of the best programs in the country, and just an awesome, amazing group of people. And finished playing at Oregon. Had a lot of really fun times there, a lot of success there, and then went on to found NexGen.
The first time most people heard about NexGen was the bus. Can you tell us a little bit more about the idea behind the bus and what the reality of traveling around the country on a bus, trying to make a living from filming Ultimate games was all about?
Well, it wasn't really about making a living. So I started thinking about, well, what would I like to do? And I was over in China and I couldn't see enough Ultimate. Like I could consume all of the content that was available at that time. One of the things I wanted was just more of the better stuff. And I still want that. We have more content, but I still don't think we have enough of the really good stuff to really capture. I mean, for me anyway. Like I just want the best. I want people that you look at and you see, oh wow, that's amazing. Like they're doing stuff that's at a really elevated level. I have a business plan for it that I created while I was sitting in a concrete block apartment in China and decided, okay, that's not a good idea. So what do we do? Like, all right, how did they do these things before they existed as professional sports? And barnstorming was the answer. So that's where the bus ended up.
So barnstorming, is this something that you've heard of from other sports?
Yeah, that's a very American tradition. So it started with like baseball, and they would get on a bus and they would go around, because they couldn't afford to just go play one game at a time.
So we didn't have an internet connection on the bus, so it was like when we would stop at someone's house, I would frantically try and upload these files. I did all like the compression on the bus. Like I had a MacBook Pro that was just like a workhorse and did everything that tour. And so we would try, and we would upload the game, and we normally got it within like 24 to 48 hours. I think we said 48 hours was our goal, and if we beat it, that was great.
We were turning around in 24 hours at that point. Like you could watch a game 24 hours later. Oh, we could do that. Like we got a good system down. Like, basically I just Josh and Red, our camera guy Brian Bedord, they film it, and then Josh sweats it out in the back of the bus for the next 12 hours after the game while he edits together, and then we upload it to the internet. So I was like, oh, we got this great plan. You know, Josh does all the work.
Josh does all the work, yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like, hey, let's pitch it to USAU and see if they'll bite on it for nationals. So, you know, still better than what they've got. And they came back to us and said, oh, we want you to do it live streamed.
Due to recent advancements in technology, especially like prosumer, it's called. It's like a category of technology between like consumer and professional. There has been a release of a ton of products that mean like you can broadcast live footage pretty cheaply now. Maybe for like 20 grand you can do a reasonably good job, whereas before it was like 200 grand to do something that was passable. Like 20 grand is a lot of money. For Kevin, he saw what that could enable, and it wasn't a crazy leap to take. It was like an investment. Like I would never think about things like that, but that was the way he viewed it. We also had this interesting arrangement where USAU wanted the streaming for 2012, and they paid us a lump sum to essentially do the broadcast. And now things have changed so much that you have to pay USAU to have the license to broadcast, and then you can like sell the footage or sell the live streaming access. So in like the course of 3 years or something, it changed from USAU essentially paid us to build this live streaming rig into you would now have to pay USAU if you want to go and live stream nationals. Skeleton crew you can actually do with 2 camera people. You just have someone high on the sideline and then someone roaming the sideline. You don't need the back of the end zone cam. And then you need a one commentator at least, and then someone running the ATEM, the production switcher, and then someone running the instant replay. So that's 5 people. Ideally, you'd have like 8. You'd have an additional camera, additional commentator, and then like a producer, someone, you know, calling the shots and directing the broadcast as it goes.
Well, quality production crew of 8 and a minimum production crew of 5.
5 and like 5 because of like Frisbee schedule is nuts. Anyway, as an athlete, it's like crazy what you're expected to do, and then as a broadcaster, it's like you have to fit to that schedule. So if there are like 4 pool play games in a day, like back to back, that you're expected to cover, it's a pretty grueling schedule.
The classic story from that first event was that we rented the replay machine, and it was 2 a.m. the night before the event, and I was going to be running the replay machine, and I was like, finally had time to sit down and read the instruction manual. Okay. Like, this is how you do it.
The USAU pay you to put that coverage together?
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
And what sort of, I mean, did that cover your costs, or?
Yeah, basically, I mean, you know, I mean, it's still at the same time, it was like mostly, again, like a lot of the model for anything I did with NexGen was like, it was my friends, and they like Ultimate, and it's a pretty good time. Like, we always have a good time when we're doing it.
Yeah.
And I just pick the ones that are no Ultimate, which makes a big difference. Even if they don't know the camera equipment, if they know Ultimate, like, that's more important than getting the shot in focus. Although now with our new project that we're working on, like, we want the shot in focus and we want people to know Ultimate. You know, like, we want the whole shebang. We want to take it up a notch.
It seems that a lot of it pivots around having a business model that works both for the sport, for the players, and for the audience watching, but most importantly for the video producers themselves. Because unless we're going to go and use commercial entities who have their own business model and they're not really going to change it very easily, you know, how can we fund the sort of work that you've been doing in the past as a community? What's the best way of doing that?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's really about viewing and growing the audience. You know, like, what we're headed. I mean, where we're headed with our new venture is about numbers, right, and scale. and we're going out and like we're gonna give this stuff away from free, and we want to do it really awesome for free, and like we're trying to make content that appeals to where NexGen was making content for people in the Ultimate community. I mean, I think the new venture that we're working on is about making content that has general appeal.
There is so much downtime in Ultimate. Like, I have this romanticized notion of, I think Disc 1, the Ulti Village, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It was 2003 or 2004. It was the club series. Ulti Village Rob just filmed the stuff on DV, edited it together, and then released a DVD that you could watch. And it was like the first piece of Ultimate media I ever bought. And it has this funky soundtrack that you would never see on an Ultimate product anymore. But it was great. It was just like it constructed a narrative. It followed Sockeye from Northwest Regionals all the way. They ended up winning the national title. And it had Sammy CK, one of their big players, kind of doing voiceover as they were discussing plays. And it was just, it removed all the downtime from the Ultimate. It was just, here is the arc of the tournament following this one team. And then the final was pretty much every point. We just cut out all the stoppages and all the downtime. And like, for me, that's kind of what I want from Ultimate. The men's semifinal that went to double game point. That was pretty exciting to watch, and felt like I was getting. I didn't feel I was missing out. Even with ESPN, they have this habit of the broadcaster, the main camera being too focused on the disc, and you lose a lot of like the downfield action. And I think a lot of their videographers aren't familiar with Ultimate, so and the producers as well, so they don't have an understanding. So with NGM, we were all Ultimate players, so we knew what was interesting, we knew the players, and we knew kind of what we would like to see. So that that Worlds game really stuck out. It was an exciting game, and we had Chase and Lou, Chase Sparling Beckley and Lou Burris doing the commentary, who are, I think, two really good commentators, and they have a very good rapport.
If we're going to be successful, like as a community, if we're going to build something that attracts other people, that attracts even our own community, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there that play Ultimate, and like I was driving home the other day, and it's like, oh, there's some people playing some pickup. But like, if we want to attract those people and just bring them in, like we're going to have some sort of narrative that is interesting. Yes. You know, they get dropped into, and then they can keep going on. So like if somebody got exposed to the Women's All-Star Tour, like it doesn't just end there at the Women's All-Star Tour, right? It moves into what the next thing, you know, or it sends them like, hey, you know, you got here, like let's send you somewhere where you can be exposed more to what we're doing because you liked what you saw.
Right, and it tracks those key players through their journey, and so you can see the whole arc of the story.
Exactly, and I mean that's one of the things that was really awesome about NexGen, that is like really special, and what drew the players that were on it to become as well known within the community as some of them have been, was the fact that they had a place for their story to start. You know, like a lot of those guys that starts with NexGen.
Yeah.
You know, and like people knew like Stubbs was playing Ultimate when he was 16 for Chain, right? But like Stubbs and people knew he was the best, but his story like starts with NexGen.
Okay, so professional leagues, good thing, bad thing. What are they bringing to the sport? What are they taking away from the sport?
Professional leagues, good things, bad things. I mean, we are like, I think they're good. Having those people that are working locally, they can build an audience base that can at least make games potentially sustainable on a weekly basis, or like, you know, bi-weekly basis in an area. That's huge, you know, because that's not going to happen without some sort of league style. Like the player teams themselves aren't going to get there. You know, like it's not going to happen from clubs initiating that. Like it can only really happen through some sort of model that, I mean, it can happen other ways. Like, I mean, I think it's going quite well in Seattle with Sockeye and Riot, but still, like, it's pretty lacking from like being able to really access those teams perspective, right? Like, how many times could you watch Sockeye or Riot play this year? Once or twice.
Or when they played big games in town.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and like because Luke Johnson just put out a clip today, and like there's a young girl talking about how Riot's her favorite, and like she doesn't get to see Riot play, very often, like there has to be something. So I think having access to that is really sweet, and I think there's a lot of great people. That's why I like Ultimate. There's a lot of great people that are worth having access to, and worth learning from, and worth putting out there as somebody that is a good influence,
So Josh and Kevin there kicking it about NexGen. Steve, that looks interesting. What do you got there?
I have an exciting release from the World Flying Disc Federation, of which our upcoming interview is with the El Presidente, and it is a request for proposal that's come to you directly.
It was emailed to me directly from Volker.
It's also available on the WFDF website, and if you don't know how to find that on the WFDF website, by all means, go to the BlockStack.tv website and click on blogs. It'll be right up there at the top. So, and it's kind of laying out what they'd like to see next year for both the World Juniors, which is in Warsaw, and no,
it's in Wrocław.
I don't know.
It's a Polish word. No one can pronounce it. It's not Wrocław.
Yeah, I know.
Wrocław.
Is that really it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I work with someone from Poland, and he's
like road you drive down.
Wrocław.
Wrocław.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Good. So there, and then of course,
it's completely wrong, isn't it?
Parts probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Please write to show at BlockStack TV and tell us how to say that. And then of course the World Ultimate Guts Championships in London. That one we know because it's
this is perfect meat for our media shows. This
absolutely
is the bread and butter of how do you get media coverage started. Well, the person that's organising the tournament, WFDF, put out one of these as an appeal to all the different producers of media content, everyone from BlockStack TV right up to ESPN and everyone in the middle, and say, what can you offer us? And what are they asking for?
I would have said everything from ESPN all the way up to BlockStack.
All the way to BlockStack TV, yeah.
Kim goes first. Interesting that part of the background, they give you a bit of information about the event. They talk about the background, which interestingly, Sakai Japan was the last Worlds, which was NexGen.
It was NexGen, yeah, which is Kevin and Josh.
So what do you have to do now to be considered? Some of the bid requirements that I read through here are, I find them either ambiguous sometimes or just difficult to accomplish. But I understand, because the business model of your average Ultimate Media company, it's not as advanced as your ESPN.
No.
So I don't know who it's aimed at, or if it's just aimed at everybody.
Yeah, and even ESPN's business model for Ultima is a maturing thing, isn't it? It's not set in stone yet. They're still trying to work out how to cover the sport. This is a developing picture. And I think this is what makes this document a really hard thing for WFDF to put together, because they're trying to find a middle ground between something that potentially, if ESPN did bid for this and did put the money in, they could put together something really good. But they also can't put off the smaller players who don't have the big budget. So
that's right.
It's hard.
Ultra World, for example, is doing the live streaming at the USA National Championships, the end of the Triple Crown. And from what I've heard, the RFPs that come from USA Nationals are even more, have a larger list of requirements than what this one does.
So what are the key things that caught your attention?
Key things. They're asking for 20% on gross sales of all sales commission on selling the live stream and broadcast footage.
Okay.
So that, I guess, is that if you make money,
they want to share
selling it to people to watch, they would like some money. That makes sense.
That makes sense. I get that.
Now, the only business model issue is traditionally people haven't sold it. It's been given away a lot recently.
Yeah, I've not seen very many people make a lot of cash.
Yeah, so that's potentially not going to be easy. But I can understand why they asked that. They've asked for a DVD for use for promotional purposes.
Okay.
Outdated.
Yeah.
Highlight video.
Hard.
240 seconds isn't bad. That's not very long.
It's 4 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, but
that's still a day's work.
Still, that's a lot of work to make that really shiny.
Definitely.
And then they will ask for a breakdown of options for different pricing, from 1 camera to 2 cameras with multiple fields to 5 cameras with a crane, for all we know, a drone, things like that. And
that's the thing that makes me think that actually they appreciate the fact that, because they're talking about pricing.
A maximum setup showing costs.
Yeah,
So that sounds like
it sounds like they understand that this thing is going to cost the broadcaster money, and the contribution is going to have to come.
yeah, that's right.
From somewhere.
And it's part of that what makes me think, okay, there's a confusion for me reading this as to, are you going to pay for my costs? Or if so, are we going to give you 20%? I guess that's just, we're all going to try and set this up together and make money together.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah. It's that's kind of aligning people's aspirations, isn't it? We all want this to work and be successful, and WFDF want it to be successful. They get 20%. Broadcaster wants it to be successful because they've got costs, blah blah blah.
Yeah. So that's what, and then they just want to know about your graphics and your jingles and all your other stuff. So that's all stuff that we could probably do.
Yeah.
Right. What you get back in the benefits list is a bit whatever, if you ask me. I mean, the important thing is that they're asking you for costs, which sounds like they're going to help you out with it. Getting logos all over the place and banners and adverts, that doesn't really benefit people that much. From my perspective, it's in the event's interest to do that.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
To advertise live streaming and that you're doing it. So that's not really a benefit to you. It's a benefit that's a self-serving act of kindness, I suppose.
Yeah.
You get a media area, you get some key sites. There's a hilarious bit here where they talk about the media area.
Yeah.
40 foot by 40 foot, 120 volt power, which doesn't work because you're in Europe for both of these events.
They might have some massive converter.
I don't know. I just find it funny that instead of just saying regular power, they actually specify quite specifically 120 volts.
120 volts.
We got you halfway there.
Yeah. We're going to cut the UK power supply in half.
240 when you get here. Chalk. And then they talk about specifically 8 tables and 6 chairs for those 8 tables.
Two tables with no chairs.
2 tables with no chairs.
Yeah.
That's quite good.
Is there anything in particular in this article, in this document, that's really got your goat, Steve?
The one thing that I don't like about it, there's 2 things.
Go on then.
One thing I don't like about it, I think actually that's all pretty good. That's all pretty legit. I feel like I could bid for this. What I don't like is the thing at the very bottom in the additional items that will enhance bid consideration. 1, a financial contribution to the event that will reduce player costs as sponsorship, which on the surface doesn't look that bad.
I don't think it looks bad at all. I
No,
think
it
that's the reality of the way the sport is right now.
It is perhaps the reality of the way the sport is, but it also creates a sort of blind auction scenario where whoever's can write the biggest check can override the quality of the bid, potentially.
Well, maybe that's true, but maybe there's also that you got to judge the people that are going to be reading these proposals are going to take into account the people that are involved. No, everybody knows everyone in Ultimate. If someone comes out of the blue, even with a big check, there's going to be people checking their credentials.
Well, ESPN doesn't, great credentials.
Well, yeah, but I think that's perfectly fine. It's not like they're FIFA and they're saying, "Come on, slip us an envelope."
It's a little.
It's not a little. FIFA.
It's a little backhanded.
No. There's no black plastic bags being.
I like seeing a cost. I don't know. I don't like vague. A financial contribution. If I put it on a mob accent.
Again, I think they're trying to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And someone like a big network broadcaster might be able to make a contribution to the above and beyond their really good quality coverage. Might be able to make a contribution to the tournament, which changes the way the tournament runs. I think it's worth having that in there so they know that could be a consideration when we put this thing together.
It's a nice open door.
It is an open door.
I'd like to see it locked down in the future, though. That's not my big bugbear, really. It's a bit of fun to have with that. It makes me think that we could do a Kickstarter, raise 50 grand, and just kind of walk into this.
We should do it. We need to make 50 grand on a Kickstarter.
The thing, we could do a Kickstarter where our goal is 50 grand, and you'll all get your money back, but it'll be fun to try and contribute to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a giant thermometer. So the thing I don't like about it is that there's no indication if we were to do this on what our return on the investment would be. There's no viewership stats. I mean, they mentioned Sakai up here, the previous event.
They mentioned how many people were there.
They talk about people, 250 players, 2,500 players, and we just did under 23s in the same location. But again, there's no mention how many people watched that live stream. At the very least, do a bit of homework and say, well, the most we've ever had watch the stream is this. interpolate that forward, give a potential estimate of viewership.
Do you want me to tell you how many people watched the final?
You can do that?
Yeah, from YouTube.
Hit me, man. All right, so if you're doing you're reading this request for proposal, we've got a man right here who has from YouTube. You're just going to look at views on YouTube?
Yeah, of course. That's what else?
Does it show the live stream views? Or just the people who watched it after the fact?
Terrible search. Under 23.
So you found it?
I have found it, yeah. Okay, well, this is the women's final, which without doubt was the best game on the finals day.
Yeah, that was killer.
A stonk. That was a great
And
game.
we have
28,500.
28,000 views.
And 123 thumbs up and 3 thumbs down from idiots.
From Americans.
What do they know?
Who didn't like that they lost.
I'm sure they enjoyed the quality of the coverage. And
it was
the
great
sport.
coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. So if you're looking
28,000.
for numbers, you may have to do your own homework, but you can go into YouTube and you can see some numbers there, 28,000 people, and you can try and work out whether that you get a return on that. And that's the kind of information, though, I just think should be in here.
Yeah.
Present the value of what you're offering, as opposed to some logos on some websites, like the benefits. The benefits really. Listen to.
Well, I can understand. I can understand also why they've not put them in there.
What's that?
Because they're not massive numbers.
No. Moving right on. Okay. But coming right up now, we ask questions like this and many other questions.
Well, we had lots of questions, and we thought we're going to talk about media. We're going to talk about World of Ultimate. Who best to talk to? We need to talk to the man. We need to talk to the main, head honcho.
We went straight to the top. His name is known by actually not as many people as should know who he is.
Yeah, his name is Robert Knob Rauch.
Known in the jazz community as Bobby Smoke.
Knob has been the head of the WFDF for a long time.
Twice even.
Yeah, he has been twice. And before that, he was head of USA Ultimate, which was previously known as Ultimate Players Association.
He has his own Wikipedia page. You can check out and get his old CV there, and it's mighty impressive.
And he's in the USA Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He was quite a player, and he was a massive contributor to the sport. And so myself and Steve got on a Skype chat with him, and we recorded it, and we're going to edit it down. And this is our conversation about Ultimate Media with Knob Rauch. So we'll leave you with that. So until next time, I've been Tom Stiles.
I'm Steve Jaguar.
And we hope you have enjoyed the show.
All right, here we go. All right, with us today, we have the honor and pleasure to discuss the state of media and the sport of Ultimate with none other than a man with a large resume. Former director of UPA, 6-time National Ultimate Championship in the USA, 5-time world champion, board member, treasurer, consultant, 2-time president of WFDF. Is this your second?
Yeah, obviously a glutton for punishment. So my first stint in the 90s.
All right, cool. And outside of Ultimate, we've investigated a little bit of your Wikipedia page. He has a Wikipedia page. So you move and shake in the financial sector is a fair enough statement. Enough to say that you know which side to butter the bread of businesses, I guess, is a rough way of putting it. Is that did I miss anything? Does that sound right?
That sounds good. Yeah, I have the joy of having my main focus of our investment firm and funds in emerging markets. So I spend a lot of time traveling and hopefully have some appreciation for different parts of the world and different cultures.
Perfect. So you probably, I mean, we're trying to think of if we could invent a CV that would be better positioned to do what you're doing for our sport. It would be difficult. Okay, a question, the icebreaker question is your nickname, name, Knob. Where does that, is there a history there?
You know, it's not a really exciting story. Back in 1976, when I went to university, second day of school, guy across the hallway said, "Hey, how are you? I'm in from Wisconsin. I brought all my favorite beers. Do you drink beer?" And I said, "On occasion." And in those days, the drinking age was 18, so that was even a legal question. And we got to talking. He said, "It seems like everyone at this school is named Robert, or Bob, or Rob. We should call you something different, like Knob." And it caught on amongst a small group, but then later in the wintertime, my freshman year, we started an ultimate team at Williams College, and the guy who started it said we should all take on an official nickname. So I had mine ready-made, and it's stuck with me ever since.
So, no, thanks. That's a great introduction. We're talking about media from a WFDF perspective, and I just want to know from your point of view what the perfect ultimate media coverage would look like. And can you give us an example of a flying disc event where you've really seen it work well?
Sure. Well, in my mind, our media coverage is still a work in progress, but for me, I think aspirationally, but also realistically, the goal is to get broadcast network TV coverage of our big events. I think that's really the important next step. We've had some successes in the U.S. on the ultimate side with the ESPN3. I think that's been extremely successful from the standpoint of getting a legit sports network to really focus on it and to feel very good about putting it on their highlights in their sports center. B, it's given that production team a lot of experience. And these guys are the best in the world at this, and they very quickly have figured out how to present the sport to make it very entertaining for a broadcast audience outside of just our internal enthusiasts. Disc golf has also had some success in getting its big events presented on various cable sports networks. The key here, in my mind, is it's not to belittle what we've done with streaming. I think there's been some great stuff that's been done. Certainly, the World Games event in Cali was a wonderful example of how we can be really, really successful with that. But the key is a question of whether we are allowing through streaming for our current enthusiast community to pull the events that they want and to get access online to what they want to see versus the broadcast model, which is still a pushing out to new audiences, new spectators. And so my goal is really to see what we can do to get to that next level where we're pushing this out to new audiences and moving beyond just our purely player-focused approach, which has been incredibly successful, but to one where we preserve the best of that while still introducing a much broader global community to the sport of ultimate and the other disc sports. And that's really what we're hoping for. You guys, the professionals who we need to bring along with this, both in the production side, on the photography side, and all the other elements that go into media. It's really crucial to have this as well. And it's exciting that people like you actually are trying to see whether there is an honest buck to be made, devoting a lot of time and effort and putting on a much more professional approach on this than the typical way it's been done often in the past of pulling someone off the sideline who was relatively conversant and having them be really the message person. So I think that all of this really has to fit together as we go forward.
There isn't an honest buck to be made doing ultimate media.
There isn't a dishonest buck to be made.
Oh, and let's be honest. I mean, that for us is the crux of the matter, because we are looking at trying to see what it takes to get to that next level. And the only way that there's going to be an honest buck to be made to be able to support all the efforts of everyone that has to go into this, or to be able to get that barter deal and the time that that it takes to get on broadcast television, is we're going to have to get some sponsorship. And that's that is the one thing that we're going to have to sort out, and we're actually taking some steps right now within WFDF to really get to a point where we know what we have to offer. We're looking at engaging a consultancy firm that specializes in brand valuations to be able to look at what we have, where we are today, where we might be, and to give us an honest appraisal of what our brand might be worth, which we can then take to start that sponsorship pursuit, and to then be able to take that and marry it with the broadcast side. We've sat down and had a couple of very good meetings with several big sports networks and they're interested. It's just a question of us being able to deliver what we need to on the side, which is broadcast quality production, and that takes money.
Okay, that's it. So you've actually generated a whole lot of questions now, and I've got to try and dish them out one at a time. There's something that you said in your Hall of Fame interview. Was that I think where we saw it, Tom? Where it says, and I've got it written in letters, big letters here. It seemed to me that the lack of professionalism in the way the sport was being run was greatly hindering its growth and frustrating players. And I don't know if that's a quote from you as to the answer to why I did what I did to get so involved. And we read that and we thought, that's kind of like why we started getting into media. Because we found that while things had gotten quite good for players who were within events, it was quite frustrating for the fans, although we are players as well, outside the events. The outsider perspective on Ultimate felt like there was, even though the sport itself had progressed, the coverage hadn't, and there was still a very, very much a lack of professionalism. Not that we are professionalism, Tom and I, but that still existed within media, and we're wondering, is that where you feel it is? I mean, I'm getting the impression, like you said, there's growth, there's room to move, and there's two directions. There's feeding the demand that's already there, if I'm getting what you're saying, but there's also an aspect of generating a new demand, hitting players hitting people who don't necessarily know about the sport. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, the quote you take is from an interview, I think, in the late 90s, perhaps. And
okay.
And it was, in the mid 80s, why did you decide to start getting involved in Ultimate administration? And for me, it really was that issue. It wasn't just to the outside world, but it was the player community itself was pretty frustrated because the UPA at that point in time wasn't really delivering what they thought it should be, which was to make sure that the administration of the organization around it was keeping up with what the teams and the players really wanted out of it. And so in the context of media and what you guys might be thinking about doing today, I think, it's really, this element of there's so much that can be done to introduce our sport to a lot more people. And it's not just to those who are totally uninitiated, but it's to parents who have kids who are playing today, and they know their kid plays 2-3 days a week at his high school or even a middle school level, and they don't really know what it's about, and they're not really sure whether it's legit or not, and so they're sort of scratching their head going, I wonder what this is. And all of a sudden, if they start seeing this in a place they're not used to seeing on a sports network, cable network, where they just are flipping the channels and all of a sudden something pops up, I think it's really going to drive us getting to the next level where we can be, not just in terms of the way that we're presenting our highest level championship events, comprised of the elite athletes from around the world, but even at the grassroots level. And so those elements, I think, will greatly benefit if we can get to that next level with our media approach. Okay. And, one of the things, just to show how serious we are, we recently made a search and designated a media and communications director, Rob McLeod, who has been a great promoter, plays all of the disc sports, and so he has a really neat and excellent perspective on what he'd like to see, and so I think we're really going to be putting a lot of effort in this within the constraints of our limited resources over the next couple of years.
That sounds like an ideal guy.
Yeah, he's perfect. I spent a bit of time with him at under 23s, and he really does. The energy he has for all the sports he plays, anything going on with the disc really shines out of him. I was very just excited to hear about all the different sports he plays.
Yeah, it was interesting because I actually reached out to him 4 months ago, and he's like, I'm really busy, and this is a not paid position. I'm not sure I could do another one of those. And we sucked him in, got him over to the U23s. He saw what was going on, and he was like, okay, I'm ready. And you know, that emergency video we had to put together for the IOC. I mean, you know, the efforts of everyone just bringing that together, and certainly thank you, Tom, for you know, donating your golden voice. And but that's gotten, you know, great reviews. Everyone's been very very excited about it. We're going to formally make it available, you know, once we're done with our Northern Hemisphere summer and people are back, and so we'll get that out on the YouTube channel, and really going to try to up our game in terms of what we are gathering and presenting to the community.
Anytime you want to borrow the golden voice, Nob, it's available for the promotion of Ultimate.
I know. We're gonna have to get some ice to deflate your head now, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we talked briefly there about AOC recognition, and I guess that means that a lot more people are going to be watching the sport of Ultimate and how it's presented. And I'm just wondering how much control and how big a role the WFDF have got to play in determining what sort of what sort of media comes out of the tournaments which you're either involved in directly, like under 23s, or sorry, indirectly, like EUC. You know, talk about the WFDF's role in making sure that the media that comes out of big tournaments is of the correct quality. Now that we've got the IOC watching what we're doing.
Sure. The you know, one note about the IOC, and you know, a lot of people have had some fears that by becoming recognized by the IOC and affiliated with them, that all of a sudden they're going to put their heavy hand, their thumb screws down, and force us to change, you know, force us to have referees or what have you. And things couldn't be farther from that. You know, I shared a couple of days ago the letter we got from the IOC confirming our formal recognition. And, you know, the guys we've worked with in the sports department have been absolutely fabulous from the very beginning, extremely constructive. They like what we're doing. They like the spirit of the game as what they consider a key added value of disc sports to the Olympic movement. They like the gender equality. They like what we've done with World Games and the mixed format that we've used. And so from that standpoint, I don't see there being interference. If anything, it's been constructive criticism of how just to keep on doing things and do them better. When it comes to what we're trying to present, as I said, there is a tension, because from my vantage point, I'd love it if we could, you know, do, you know, 15 camera shoots, you know, live stream, you know, to every country in the world. And, you know, the resources just aren't there. And so what we need to do is figure out what we could bring to bear. I think we will be looking to see if there is a global brand sponsor that we could bring in to provide support, and to then be able to have some of these resources that are needed to be able to go there. Can't count on that. You know, we clearly, I think, in the absence of, you know, the full Monty, will continue to be able to work with the professionals who are providing incredibly quality and top-notch streaming services. And it doesn't mean that that's going to go to the wayside if we can get some of this broadcast stuff done either. But we just need to be able to be honest with ourselves and really do the best with the resources we have as time goes on.
So when you know, you're putting together the Steve, you might have a question about this further down, but when you're putting together, when you're evaluating bids from tournaments, is the media aspect of that, is that part of the evaluation, and to what extent does it have an impact on the decisions?
You know, I would say that we have always put a huge emphasis on the key aspects of making the event great for the athletes. First and foremost, with some of these nice to haves, because really in the end these are nice to haves, as sort of a second level of consideration. You know, our bid package is pretty complete, and I'm sure it's not a lot of fun to have to go through and think through all these things, but absolutely key. Venue, what's the venue? Do we have enough fields? Are they good quality? Are they safe? Second is going to be accommodations and food. You know, what kind of offerings do we have? We have the balance of quality versus expense, and we still have, you have certain teams that want to be staying in, 3 to 5 star hotels, and you have others who are looking for the camping option. We need to be able to make sure that that whole range is provided for. Things like ice and water access, all of that, these things that make the event work or not work from the athlete's perspective are first and foremost on the list. We then have all the nice to have stuff. Can we get internet service on the fields? Can we get, do you have ideas about local sponsors who may be able to help support the event? What can we do in terms of photography, other media coverage, and the like? Increasingly, WFDF is going to be trying to assist the tournament organizers in some of these things, such as the registration system we just introduced this last year. There's a lot of things that, for a tournament organizer doing a one-off event, it's a lot of work to be able to come up with these things on a one-off basis. And so I would put media sort of in that same thing. If we can come up with a more global plan, it's just going to be that much easier. We've managed to get some very good arrangements with 2 new sponsors for WFDF, and our disc sponsor with Discraft, and with our apparel merchandising sponsor with VC Ultimate. Things like this, all of a sudden, we're able to provide more resources than they could necessarily get on their own, and they actually don't have to think about it. It just takes a lot of the work off of the tournament organizer. It's something that, from a global standpoint, I think we can add a lot of value in making this easier for them to be able to focus on the key stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I think, Tom, you mentioned that I had a question like that down we had a list of questions. The reason that what prompted Tom's question was we saw 4 events this year that were very closely broadcast, I guess you could say, from a media perspective. The first one being under 23s, followed very quickly by EUC in Copenhagen, and then EYUC in Frankfurt, and then almost immediately after we saw the Canadian National Championships in Winnipeg. And we saw 4 different flavors of coverage, really. I mean, we, Tom, of course, and we were all at under 23s. We saw what it was like on the inside and the outside. And then we watched it kind of drift away in terms of what you could figure out what was happening for not being in an event between them all. And it was interesting. It really got us thinking, which is part of the reason we did this episode, about what does it take from country to country to be able to pull this media requirement off so that we keep our professionalism from an outsider looking in and make it happen. Because I know I watched the Winnipeg stuff, and they were talking, the commentators like yourself, Tom, were talking that isn't it fantastic because we're in Winnipeg, we have instant replays. And I thought, what's special about Winnipeg that they get instant replays? That's great. And this is why Tom was probably asking, like, why is it, how high does that rank? Can I put instant replays on my bid? is that a good thing, So it must be very frustrating from a WFDF perspective to see these inconsistencies. I mean, it's frustrating from an outsider view to think that if we're trying to bring more people into the sport, do we want consistency across all of these? Ideally.
Well, I think it's interesting the list of events you outlined. WFDF doesn't have any direct interface with the Canadian National Championship, just as we don't have a direct interface with the U.S. National Championship or a German or a Philippines. What the role we see ourselves playing with what's going on with our national members is hopefully to be a template for some good things and how to do those good things.
Okay.
It is tough for us. Again, we have 1.5 full-time staffers and a volunteer network, and so it's tough for us to try to spread ourselves too thin because we'll do everything badly. What we've tried to do is really focus on those things where we have the direct input, where we can really work on it. We are planning to elevate the 1/2 person to a full-time position by year end. That's our event manager. That obviously should give us some opportunity to do a better job in managing events and bringing additional resources to make sure that they're being done well, and to be able to better coordinate with some of the ancillary services, such as the media and broadcast in the overall product offering. But again, our first and foremost focus is making sure that the championship itself is done right, because when it doesn't happen, it's pretty devastating. And sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. If it's Lecco and you have the 100-year storm, and the night before the event's supposed to start, fields are under six inches of water, and you're bringing in the helicopter to see if you can blow it into the canals. And so you do what you have to do. But I think until we can get some additional resources, we are only going to be able to play a limited role outside of our marquee events.
Oh, here you go.
So, big question, and it's personal, really, for me and Steve, is that we've seen a large number of volunteers with a media passion come along and start up their own websites. Things like Skyd and Ultiworld, and in the UK we've got the show game. BlockStack TV was originally out of the same stable, and now it seems like we're moving to a world where there's more professional coverage. And you touched on the fact that we need to bring these people with us, but I'm just wondering how we're going to manage that, because the difference between where we are and where we need to be, it seems like we're poles apart, and I'm not quite sure how we're going to navigate those waters.
As of today, I'm not sure either. The good news is that there's some options, and I think if we were to look at what's happened over the last 5 years in terms of the not only media but on the apparel side and so many other parts of what goes on with our sport, there are more and more people trying to bring a level of professionalism into it, a level of professionalism that people are willing to pay for, and I think it's going to be one of these things that develops on the fly. If, for example, WFDF were able to get a global brand sponsor, we would have a very different set of resources. Most of those resources would be geared towards our events and showcasing those in a way that then is saleable for our sponsor and it puts them in the best stead. And so, all of that is going to drive a fair bit of this. Money is really the stumbling block for all of those trying to see if it is feasible to make a career, or at least part of a career out of some involvement in our sports. And so realistically, we don't know what it's going to look like. My guess is we'll be surprised at where we are in 5 years in a good way.
Okay. You mentioned the success of the ESPN3 coverage in America. And I'm curious because we're not, neither of us are there, so our perspectives are very European, I guess you can say. And at the moment, if Ultimate gets into the news, the mainstream news, BBC, for example, does a bit of coverage for us in the UK, it goes viral here, but in a such a novelty way to see it in mainstream. I think I likened it to a BuzzFeed about a water skiing squirrel or something. It's like, wow, look at that. And I wonder whether in the States, is it less so? Do people see it on normal TV, or are starting to see it on normal TV, so much so that they think, oh, look, it's in the SportsCenter top 10 again. That's great. It's less novelty and more great, a bit more normal.
I think that's exactly correct. It still gets picked up. Ultimate enthusiasts, when they see a SportsCenter top 10, they still pass it around to their buddies. Everyone goes, "That is cool," but they're saying that's cool not because we're on the SportsCenter top 10, but because it's a really great play that's being showcased. Yeah. Just as you would say, "Wow, that was a great fingertip, catch of the baseball." By some outfielder. And so, to your point, I think that transition is being made. it's still, I'd say it's ubiquitous within the community, but not beyond the community yet. And that's the next step. And part of the reason why I've alluded to this idea that I think we need this push out of the broadcast media to really get to that next level, get this in front of people who have not seen it before.
The route seems to be that we get a global sponsor who provides extra resources, and those extra resources go into feeding media of all different types, and that might be some external professionals, and it might be some that we're able to provide some additional resources to people who are already providing media in the sport. So we've always had a question about who should pay, because for my money, ultimate coverage ought to be really good and free, and it's certainly in the UK it's seen that if you want ultimate coverage, you as a fan should have to pay for it. But I think that kind of flies in the face of wanting to get it in front of as many people as possible. If you put a paywall in front of your feed, not so many people watch it. In fact, a fraction of the people that you want to watch it watch it. So is there a way of sort of solving that problem? Do you see that being a problem that can be solved just by having the big global sponsor that provides the extra cash, or are there any other routes into providing good quality free streaming?
There's unfortunately money doesn't grow on trees, and we haven't really identified a whole lot of other possible avenues to really be able to do that at the next level. The solution for the World Games in Cali was a spectacular solution, a crowdfunding, but that again isn't a long-term sustainable solution. And so, perhaps there can be event level support that can go towards providing some of these kinds of things, free streaming, that doesn't have to be a big global brand sponsor for WFDF, but our total budget tends to be about $150,000 US today on average. Hopefully moving up towards $200,000 of revenue. There's not a whole lot of room within that, especially if we're trying to bring on a second full-time person, for much beyond what we're already doing, and certainly not for a constant, $20,000 per event for decent quality but affordable streaming content. And so we don't have that figured out. We're actually with Rob coming on board officially in the next couple of weeks. That'll be one of the big topics for discussion, just to see what ideas he might have to be able to reach out to others and really see what might be a sustainable alternative within the current constraints. But as I said, I think our aspirations are try to shoot beyond that.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm so excited and about what's coming up, and looking forward to next year's World Ultimate and Guts Championships in London. Hope to see you back down in the UK again, Nob.
Absolutely.
All right, so are we good?
Yes, I think that's just about everything wrapped up.
All right, thanks very much for joining us.
So, should we do like a proper sign-off, Steve?
What's the proper sign-off, Tom? This is the first one we've ever done.
Okay, well, I'll do one, and then we'll carry on afterwards. So I'd just like to say thank you very, very much to Nob Rauch for joining us and talking to us about the WFDF perspective on media. It's been a real pleasure having you with us, Nob. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure enough, guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I wish you a lot of luck with the new series.